Hey, so for this week's reading engagement, I decided to do number 3, which is the drawing reflections on the poem I Go Back to May 1937. This poem is about Sharon Olds, I guess, as a daughter, going back in time to see her parents. And obviously, the whole poem kind of breaks down the whole idea of it and how she's going basically to split up their parents. So I drew 3 different pieces of art, and the first one is the gate at the first line of the poem that says, "I see them standing at the formal gates of their colleges." So I drew it to kind of resemble the opening line. So 1, it's going to resemble the opening line. 2, it establishes the setting of the play. So as you can see, it allows the audience to understand exactly where, they're going to be. For the third thing, I drew the people as silhouettes. The reason why is throughout the poem, it kind of breaks down that the author didn't even know them. And so I drew it where it's like you can't actually see their faces, just because I wanted to resemble what the audience actually meant by them being in a difficult situation, hoping that they wouldn't actually meet. And then the last thing that I put, second to last thing, was I drew it outside, and I drew them off in the distance because I wanted to also show just how far away from reality these 2 people actually were. So that's why I put them on a hill and kind of put them back into the frame. I didn't put them really up close. And the reason why for doing that was to show that the author is basically saying that these people are so far away, and they're in their own world basically. So I drew them really far away from everything. And then for the 5th one, I did how I put them so together, kind of looking at each other. I didn't put them looking away. I was looking at each other because it just said how excited basically that these 2 people were to kind of unite and see each other. And so if I put them any farther apart from each other, I don't think it would have portrayed what the author actually meant. So I put them looking at each other closer, just so you can kind of see the connection between these 2 characters. So this was my first drawing, the gate with the silhouettes far off in the distance to hit those 5 points of the from what the author meant. The next drawing that I did is a woman, and then it has like the don't sign, or like the not sign, over her. And the 5 reasons for this is definitely important. Number 1 is that there's a line in the poem where it says, "Stop, don't do it, she's the wrong woman." And so that was the number 1, where it's like the author is telling the husband, like, don't go after this woman, because it's obviously she's not meant for you. So that's number 1. Number 2, the reason why I drew a woman was not just, I didn't draw the woman with a name on it or anything like that, because you don't know if it was actually saying if the woman was actually the author. And the don't sign around is telling her parents not to have kids. So maybe that they were meant for each other, but they just weren't supposed to have kids. I think that's kind of an important twist and stuff like that. And then I drew the person in the background of the don't sign with like the don't, like, more predominant, just to kind of show how sometimes like in this poem society will do so good at like blocking you off. And so it's like I kind of did it that the outer sides are just deeper than the inner, and you won't even be able to really do exactly what you wish to do, because society is going to reign over you, things you can't control. So I thought that was super, super important to kind of include the circle over it, to signify the importance of the outer, rather than what you actually can control. And then I drew her, the last point was to draw her super innocently, because it, you know, in the poem, this is actually says like all they know is they are innocent, they never hurt anybody. And so I drew her with a smile on her face just to kind of portray that she is super innocent and, you know, is exactly who she needs to be. And the last one, I thought, you know, is one of the favorite, probably the favorite drawings that I did. As it says, it's a line from the poem, but it looks like it's a they're supposed to represent paper dolls together. And so the line says, I don't do it, I want to live. I take them up like a male and female paper dolls and bang them together at the hips. So as you can see, it's showing like one, it's, you know, the two things together to show. So that was the number one point, that they actually are joined at the hip. Number two, I drew them both manly and womanly. So the man has like, you know, a lot of muscle on him, and the woman, you can see, has like a womanly feature. And the reason why is because I wanted to portray that they both were catches. You know, they were both really nice, you know, to the eye, and so it made sense for them to kind of be attracted to each other. So that was kind of the big thing. Number two is I drew their eyes. I drew her eyes very big and his eyes very small. And that was kind of to show the incompatibility of both of them together. That, you know, they might seem like they're the best, but because they don't really have similarities between the two, that could be like a damaging thing between them. And so, super, super important there. But I also, I didn't give these characters any names or anything like that, because I wanted to signify that the man and the woman, although they were together, this man could be with a different woman that makes him way happier. And so it's kind of, sure, it could be, you know, the two people that are supposed to, that this poem is about, but it could actually mean that if either one of them were with the other person, it would make things a lot easier. And then lastly, I just made it so his arm and her arm were around each other to show how inclusive that they were with each other, and that they really wanted to be with each other, even though, oh, and the last one that I did, I'm sorry, is that I made him to kind of resemble more of like a jock, and jocks are supposedly, you know, dumb, quote unquote, people, and so that's for the line, they are dumb. I wanted to resemble it, like with her with like a bigger head, kind of like she's an airhead, and he's just a jock who's not really super smart. So just kind of to hit multiple points in the poem. So thank you.